Well, here we go with another down the rabbit hole, the crypto conspiracy. And back with me this time is John Perez. And John, I mean, you just keep coming up with more and more, and I'll have to use my overused word, interesting stuff. So I think as we start, I just want to go ahead and share screen for some of the great information that you have sent to me over the last little while here. And so the first one I want to look at here is this one.
Oh,
All right, John, why don't you take us through this from Decrypt?
okay. Well, to put this in context, going back to our graph commons where we had the network map with Epstein, and we had, once again, we go back, everything leads back to the universe surrounding Epstein and MIT. So we put those together here, and all the trails to Bitcoin with all the big promoters right now, they all have a connection with MIT while during the reign and the direction there of Joe Ito, who has disappeared for now. And for some reason, ever since it's the last 48 hours, what do we have? We had Jack Dorsey left Twitter, and he's going on to do a new mining operation, Bitcoin mining. And you've got the Winklevoss twins, Bitcoin mining, MIT campaign. Here they are. Crypto industry backs MIT Media Lab's digital currency initiative as it launches a new research and development program to strengthen Bitcoin's infrastructure. Dorsey, Saylor, Winklevoss, these guys are all Bitcoin billionaires. How did they know to go long and big in the beginning? Well, it's pretty simple here. Everyone has an orbit around the MIT Bitcoin Epstein connection here. So once again, the question arises, how is it that everyone knew at MIT to just go all in on Bitcoin so early? I wish I was there. I would like to have 1,000 Bitcoin in my account that I could flip at $66,666 and flip it for silver, physical silver, but I didn't do that. I just didn't have the inside scoop there. Well, so now, you look back at when this digital currency initiative was put together, and it was Joey Ito running the operation there, who was let go by Harvard because of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, these guys all show up here, and suddenly, who's in the news in the last 48 hours? And I've noticed there's an absolute waterfall of news coming that started right when the trial started, starting off with the CEO of CNBC stepping down. Probably the largest Bitcoin promoter in media is CNBC. In fact, yesterday they had a show on where I believe it was Michael Saylor said Bitcoin is going up forever. Well, if it's going up forever, he's going to be a trillionaire if it goes up forever. And then also the Walmart CFO or CEO stepped down. Well, that's a company, I believe Walmart just 2 weeks ago said, we're going to take Bitcoin. Okay, another big positive news here. And then the third person, we had Twitter, we had CNBC, and then Walmart. Those three CEOs stepped down within a couple hours after the Maxwell trial started. Well, I was going down the list of the co-conspirator list. Someone sent me an official legal document showing the co-conspirator list. And of course, I was on there looking who's on here and watching the news and watching whose name is going to pop up on the screen next. And then I went back and looked. And once again, I thought, well, wait a second. We've got guys saying Bitcoin's going to $1 million, and all the trails go back to MIT. I think what's key here right now is that it's not so much the contacts and the trail going back to MIT, but is the subject of the trial going on with Maxwell. And as we had in our other, I believe it was number 5 interview, we talked about the Trump human rights violations executive order here. If all these things come together, the question would be, okay, Perez, so all this stuff is happening, all these, conspiracies out there, all these connections here. Why is this thing still operating? Well, let's go back to what I said twice in the last video. the executive order said there will be no signals, no warnings. So one has to ask yourself, well, what's happening here? I still personally believe, with my silver tinfoil hat in conspiracy land, that there's a major sting operation going on being conducted by would have to be the U.S. military if we're in a national emergency. That's my theory.
Okay with me, John. I'll let you speak your mind. So if I could just direct your attention to this clip that I got from you, I think it's from that same outfit we just discussed. 2 years ago, Digital Currency Initiative's parent organization, MIT Media Lab, went through its own struggles. The Media Lab was shaken by news that it received $1.7 million from a convicted sex offender and late financier, Jeffrey Epstein. My, John. Epstein was a Bitcoin fan. Following the scandal, its director, Mr. Ito, resigned in 2017 chat with Digital Currencies Initiative Director. So if you could verify the source, you don't have to, but I mean, those two paragraphs say quite a mouthful.
Yeah, you can just do a search on this. Just type in what I did. I typed in Jack Dorsey, Joey Ito, MIT, Bitcoin, and voila, all these articles popped up, and I had not seen them. And I immediately went right to the Graph Commons network map of Epstein's, and there it was. I thought, wow, look at this. So there's a layer that goes off, and MIT seems to be the orbit. I mean, if there was if Bitcoin was a Ponzi scheme, you could pretty much determine who's at the top of the pyramid. It's all the gazillionaires and billionaires holding tons of Bitcoin, all traced back to MIT. So, it's interesting because the debt that was taken out by MicroStrategy was brokered by the guys at Coinbase, which expands even more. Coinbase just got a Wells notice right after that transaction in June. They recently
got a Wells. Stop you there, John. I know what a Wells notice is. You know what a Wells notice is. Well, for the audience, what is a Wells notice?
A Wells notice, and I'm no expert at the definition here, but a Wells notice is basically the knock on the door, the no telephone call. It basically says, we have something, and we're not going to let you know what it is, but we just want to put you on notice. It really is putting you on notice. But from my understanding,
and it's from the SEC.
Yes, from the SEC.
It's a love letter from the SEC saying you've got a Wells notice, which implies we already got so much dirt on you. You are in deep doo-doo, and we're just letting you know now. So as you said, to back you up, no friendly, your banker calls you, hey, they're looking at you. Your broker calls you, hey, they just asked me to tell them about your account. None of that. You just get this love letter, and all of a sudden, bang, there you are.
Yeah, and I watched the CEO go on television basically saying that the SEC is doing sketchy things after the Wells. And I thought, wow, I was really surprised to hear that conversation or that rhetoric that, well, that can be said for the SEC, the CFTC. From a silver perspective, we probably have share some thoughts and share some ideas on how we feel about how regulation's going here. But once again, that transaction was done in June, and I believe it was 2 months later that the Wells notice came into Coinbase, after 2 months after they had brokered the $425 million deal with Saylor, who's on the digital initiative here. Just a lot of people's names, the same names in the same orbit here. And the notice was they did not want Coinbase moving forward on their lending initiative, lending out Bitcoin with a percentage rate return. So that's still ongoing, and something to look at. I think it was just another red flag. Same people, another company coming in there, looking at the DNA of Coinbase, might explain some more there. So that's, once again, the orbit of MIT and the largest Bitcoin holders in the entire Bitcoin space all are revolving around this area here.
All right, John, I want to direct your attention to this little clip here from 4 years ago. Two of our favorite geeks, Mr. Ito and Reed Hoffman. What does this dive into Whiplash 4 years ago all about?
Oh, there's Joey Ito there. I think, well, this is funny. This is odd. Once again, Reed Hoffman, this is the guy that was, he apologized for trying to rehab Epstein's reputation. Well, that's definitely backfiring right now, considering that Maxwell and Epstein are on trial and the stuff coming out of there is unspeakable. Another thing is that he was part of that fake Russian troll farm that was done down in an election down in, I believe, Alabama. And also the CEO of LinkedIn, which I have to say this again, I had a tremendous following on LinkedIn, and one day they just banned me, and then I realized that this guy here is running the largest Bitcoin trust out there, another MIT guy with Joe Ito, runs I believe the Bitcoin trust, GBTC, MIT guy, frontline guy with Epstein. And here we are. And I thought, well, this makes sense as to why I was banned off of LinkedIn, because I was posting this story up as literally just because I was pulling it up. And I thought, well, gold's really being suppressed right now. So I was following crypto and the growth here, and this popped up here. So in this photograph here, we've got two guys here, that MIT on the left, largest Bitcoin trust on the right. I would love to have 100,000 Bitcoin in my account after a couple meetings here. So there you have it. The CEO of LinkedIn. And who bought LinkedIn? LinkedIn was purchased by none other than Bill Gates. Bill Gates purchased LinkedIn. So those two, Bill Gates, Reid Hoffman, more frontline guys there, MIT, Epstein. What's going on here? That's, what's going on here. Oh, by the way, one more thing, hashtag drop gold, another grayscale Bitcoin trust operation here that's connected to Reid Hoffman. So, once again, the same names, just a few names at the top. If gold was a worthless relic, why invest money to de-promote it? I mean, the one person who started that, you just go look back, there was only one interview. Once again, it was Jeffrey Epstein who said that it's better than gold. Well, that's the message that's been consistent here, better than gold. What if we find out up in conspiracy land that the powers that be that run everything are using Bitcoin as a giant distraction?
All right, we got another one here. This is a Martin Nowak with our buddy Joey Ito. And I got to say, I got to compliment Joey Ito. Of course, I'm going to probably get some hate comments, but he looks like a really nerdy guy. And I mean that in a kind way, I mean, look, I'm an engineer. I mean, I'm known to be kind of nerdy. The engineers generally are nerdy. But tell us who this Martin Nowak guy, this is from 5 years ago.
He's running a publicly traded, very large Bitcoin operation in Europe. And he's another ex-Harvard guy, and obviously a Joey Ito guy. And he was at Harvard, and the president of Harvard, you go to the Harvard website, you'll see that the president of Harvard put out a letter talking about the resignation of I believe it was either Martin or this other guy here, but another MIT guy, Joey Ito guy, and suddenly running a large publicly traded Bitcoin operation in Europe. Once again, here's that orbit, more names, more people here. And this is all open source information. Anybody can look it up. And, you stop and look at this, you say, gosh, where's this going to end? All the billionaires in Bitcoin have a lot of similarities, and they have the same friends. So it's really red flags. Red flags. Oh,
Well, here's one of my favorites. I know both of these characters, and most watching our conspiracy, crypto conspiracy number, whatever this is. Here we go, John. We got Mr. Epstein with his Harvard sweatshirt on, and none other than one of the greatest known lawyers of all time, face to face. You want to tell us more?
Uh, the very famous Alan Dershowitz and Epstein. I mean, if guilty by association, if there was a definition for this, I'd say there's a photograph that might define that pretty well here. I mean, this is ongoing right now in real time. I think by the end of this week, at the end of this week, and this trial is 6 weeks long, we're going to see stuff rolling out every day, leaking out. There's talk about the trial, being closed off, and they said they can't release a lot of names because it's just too extravagant and just too crazy. And of course, the public is like, we want to see these names. We want to see these names. I mean, if it was anybody else, if it was you or me, we would be up there and they'd be dragging us through the mud. So I think the public needs to know, the public wants to know, and the public is demanding to know and deserves to know what is going on up here. I mean, this is the guy, Epstein, who financed and helped support Bitcoin from the beginning here. So what's going on here? I'm really watching the price here as the news goes back and forth, but there's something happening here, and it's happening literally in real time.
This is one of my favorites, reason being that I'm not a huge fan of the New York Times. But again, credit where credit is due. Here he is, the same sweatshirt on, looking rather dapper and quite casual. New York Times connects Epstein, Bezos, Hawkins, NASA, Gravity, and Harvard. Can you walk us through that?
Well, New York Times, Epstein. Look at this. I mean, this is something I picked up on today. I was trying to guess. I would venture to say that all the major retailers, outlets, or businesses that are promoting and accepting Bitcoin have a trail back to Epstein. And I believe Amazon accepts Bitcoin. Hawking, well, he's gone. So, but I believe he was on the island itself. I don't know. I just can't imagine that one. I can't even talk about that one here. NASA, I don't know the connection with NASA, but I don't have any. Haven't read anything on NASA, the connection there. But hey, if the New York Times found it, I bet they found something good there. Gravity, I don't know what gravity refers to, but Harvard, well, Harvard, MIT, that's pretty much ground zero where he was putting money into Harvard, and people say, oh, well, Harvard sent the money back. I go, well, that doesn't count. We sent the money back. Okay. I'm like, that one doesn't count. You can't do that. So yeah, Bezos, Epstein. Woo, oh, look at that.
Well, how about this one? Our favorite banker.
Attention, all silver traders, attention, all silver investors. Take a look at this one here. JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon has gone to DEF-CON 1 over banks' ties to Jeffrey Epstein. This is from Wall Street on Parade. If you haven't gone to Wall Street on Parade yet, you need to go to that website and bookmark it and start digging in there. That is no doubt one of the best websites you're going to get for information that you wouldn't find anywhere else, but is better than ABC, CNBC, and all the other fake channels combined. Wall Street on Parade. This is really interesting because, we talk about Bitcoin. We look at all these players out there. And of course, I think Trump basically slammed Dimon for saying, who are you? Are you banking for the United States or are you banking for China? All this, I can't help but to think that it was JP Morgan that took over Bear Stearns years ago after the first crash, and they got the what I call the silver hot potato. And lo and behold, who used to work at Bear Stearns? It's a long time ago, but once again, a trail. Jeffrey Epstein used to work at Bear Stearns here. So this is interesting. This is one of those too big to fail stories. I have, clips of Jamie Dimon saying, oh, Bitcoin is worthless. And then then you go to JP Morgan, the bank itself, and they'll say, well, well, we think Bitcoin's going to 146,000 by Christmas. Well, I think that's just plausible deniability. That's the bank. That's trader talk. It's up, down, bear, bull. Trump traders don't give out their trading plans. So that's understandable there. But everyone should go to Wall Street on Parade and look that one up there. And that's not in the news. I don't think that's allowed to be in the news, but here we go. Once again,
one of my favorites, John, saving kind of, I don't know if the best for last, but sort of the big hero that's been leading the last rise, this parabolic move, has been none other than Michael Saylor. And you sent me this one today. Coinbase actually brokered MicroStrategy's $425 million Bitcoin purchase, exchange says. Walk us through this little tidbit of information.
Well, this transaction, I believe, was in June 2021, and it was about 90 days later, I'm estimating here, that the Wells notice came to Coinbase. Now, the details of this article are really interesting because I guess he chose to work with Coinbase, I believe it's right before the IPO also, because they wanted to get all the Bitcoin without moving the price. I'm like, wow, hey, I'd like to buy 1 billion ounces of silver and not move the price. Who would I call? Probably call Jamie Dimon, right? JP Morgan. Listen, I need 1 billion ounces of silver, not move the price, But in this case here, apparently MicroStrategy with debt sold MicroStrategy paper and got a loan and bought $425 million of Bitcoin. Now, I don't know what
John, look, half a billion there, half a billion there. Right? After a while, it turns into some real money, right?
Well, paper, it's the stroke of a pen, and here we got stroke of a pen, and it goes in, and all of a sudden, it gets leveraged. And right after that, I believe it was 90 days later, the SEC came in and said, you're not going to do your lending program, and I thought, wow, that was a major thing. But I have to find that interview. I thought the response of the Coinbase CEO wanting to go on YouTube and basically make their case, I think there's no case going to be made. But I got to say this, though, and I said this earlier, he was literally asking on YouTube in his interviews, hey, I want to know what's going on here with the SEC, something sketchy. And I thought, well, this is not a public debate or a public story. And if we were to relate that to the SEC and how they go about these types of investigations, we have to go back and say, well, what about behind the SEC? What's going on? Is this fall under the Trump's executive order on human rights and human trafficking? So a lot of questions there, super in depth, very, very complex. But it leaves us asking questions, and everyone should be asking questions. Once again, if all these transactions are going on and we've got regulators looking at this, regulators still have to weigh in, which is keeping everyone busy. But in the background, what do we have? It's two things: the human rights executive order and the Epstein Maxwell trial here. This is all going on here. I mean, we're looking at, it's like Enron. Enron was so complex, and I haven't even mentioned Tether and Evergrande, which is connected to this, and which would blow anybody's mind away. I recommend that everyone do some digging on all these names here. And once again, from a risk management standpoint, there's going to be some funds out here that are going to get caught up in the Klaus Schwab cyber pandemic. What I would describe as a potential total blackout. And I believe when Klaus Schwab speaks and he says something's going to happen, chances are it's going to happen. And his biggest fear right now is a cyber pandemic. Yeah, imagine being in millions of dollars either leveraged or put into Bitcoin and having the lights go out. And then realize this is unregulated, my friend. There's no 1-800 Satoshi, where's my money? It's going to be 1-800, dude, where's my car? So, there's a lot going on here, but this particular piece here with, I'll end it with this.
I'm going to stop you again. And you're on a roll and you're doing a great job. And thank you. And we've complimented each other. I mean, I've dug up some stuff that kind of put that light bulb on over your head and vice versa. Today's been mostly about all the stuff you've dug out. You already answered this, but I want to emphasize at the end. And here it goes. I'm going to get a lot of blowback. And this is why we started calling it the crypto conspiracy. David, you're whistling in the graveyard. The deep state runs everything. There's no way the good guys can win. Just look at the trial. This judge is a freaking Obama appointee. The courtroom is totally closed up. There's very little, there's some leaking going on. The judge has already been bribed by an appointment into the Biden administration, stepping up a notch or two. And it's just a rigged game. This is just a big dog and pony show. And it's going to come out where the deep state comes out triumphant again. Having said that, I'm neutral to slightly leaning your direction because of this president interview we're doing, continuing on as we get further down this rabbit hole. There's too many facts that, John, you pointed out today that who's gone, missing in action as soon as the trial started. You got big names. You've got the Wells notice. You've got this. So walk me through again one more time. I know you said military, but it makes sense. And I'm not going to hang my hat on it. We're just going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, we don't know. I mean, we don't know. I mean, this is pure speculation on my part and conspiracy. But, I have to go just, since the mid 80s, I've been a geopolitical guy. This has just been my specialty. I mean, I was the kid in elementary school reading all the William Colby books on the Vietnam War in elementary school. So I was always been a big military historian and buff, especially modern stuff currently right now with what's going on. And this is another video here, but the way policy works, has always been consistent in the past. There's always been an agenda that was behind, the big shadow hand behind the camera. It was right and left were one, two heads of the same monster. Now we have a different situation here. Well, we don't know what we see. There could be two heads. We see two heads right now, Democrat, but there's another shadow hand out there that has not made its point. I mean, haven't you noticed in the last 6 months, 8 months, there's been virtually no communications coming off in terms of what this on the human rights side of things from the administration. They can't hide this stuff. So my theory is, okay, well, dog and pony show, it's all bullshit. Look at television, John. It's all rigged. It's a rigged game. We're all going to get hammered. It's just, give it up. And to that, I say this. Once again, there's going to be no warning. They're gathering data. The farther this thing goes up the ladder in a sting operation, every time this dragnet goes another week of development where you've got people rolling in, there's data being collected. And sooner or later here, all of us, the entire public is going to see this because this is going to roll out. None of this is just a big secret. This is going to, and people are going to start asking questions and they're going to start demanding answers. And when people really take a hit with inflation and the market rolls over, because it will roll over, people are going to be angry and they're going to wonder, why is all this stuff happening here? And we're getting screwed. Look at the courts. These people getting away with murder. They're getting away with everything. And it's going to become more and more of a populist statement here. But I believe that there's an ongoing sting operation here by military intelligence. I really believe that. And you're not going to find it in the news. It's not going to be a headline. No one's going to get an email. No one's going to get a secret this, secret that. No one talks with me. It's just something I've observed over the years. And I've come to this conclusion is that these kind of things can't operate that long without sooner or later breaking. I mean, the emperor has no clothes and we're all watching. Now, it's not just the emperor. It's the emperor and the entire kangaroo court are out there and we're all watching saying, this is not right. We all know this is not right. So from that, I believe, and there's some other data that I've put together here from what I believe here. This is without a doubt an ongoing sting and collection operation going in a giant dragnet. Because at the end of the day, if the Patriots, the White Hats, whoever you want to call, the Trump people decide, hey, we're just going to knock this down and just put it out of its misery, that would not have been the right thing. It has to be done properly by the Constitution for legal reasons. If the military was to take over three-letter agencies and other pieces of the government to fix these things, they can't just move forward here. I mean, that is probably a 5-hour conversation talking about the complexities of some sort of military takeover and development here. So I don't think any of this stuff is going on right now without being seen. I mean, we will see something here, and we will see an ending to this. And I do believe that the people's voice will be heard and a case will be made, and these things will be made public. What is in the dark will come to light.
Thank you, John. A couple of things come to mind. One is Roosevelt or Eleanor Roosevelt, I forget which, I think it was he, said very little in politics happens by accident.
Yes.
And another one that I've said is, coming from the background that I have, which I don't, talk too much about, but let's say knowing a bit about the NSA, they have all the data.
Oh,
which means they got every freaking email that Miss Hillary ever sent. They got everything Comey ever did. So they got it all. So it's sort of like the Lennon thing. We'll let them vote. It doesn't matter who votes. It matters who counts the votes.
yes.
The analogy being, it doesn't matter who's, all the data. It's who has access to the data and who's in charge of, bringing it forward. And the deep state has been extremely good, in my opinion, of bringing forward items that they project. The constant nonstop communist news network and most of the mainstream that basically blow hard wind stating things that they are doing and blaming the other side constantly, when the truth lies that they're the ones that are actually doing it. I'll let you have the last word.
Well, I'm reading a headline here. This was today. Don't think of it as leaving Twitter. Jack Dorsey's going all in on crypto. He's not going in all in crypto. He's going all in on Bitcoin. And everyone's going to be all eyes on this. Look, this is a tremendous period in history to be watching all this. And the timing of going all in on Bitcoin right now for Jack is pretty interesting, to say the least. I honestly think that they're moving probably faster than they really want to move. And maybe they want to move now because everything's moving the day one the trial starts. We have 6 more weeks of this stuff. There's going to be some stuff rolling out here. And I've done enough work on this and looked at the co-conspirator list and the network of Epstein here. And I can see why everyone's moving as quickly as possible. I would be too. I would be too. I mean, it's not good. It's not good, but I'm not in the camp of, it's, this is the same people. No, change is coming. Change is coming for the good. Remember, 80 million people voted for Trump. 80 million. That was 2016. That number will go over 100 million. And those people are not going to roll over and say, we're done. They're not going to go over here. And everyone is Kyle Rittenhouse. They have the right to defend themselves, and they have the right to ask questions, question authority, and question the media as to how they reported this. Because all you got to do is if you were a silver investor in 2011, you want the same defense that Kyle Rittenhouse had. And that was a crime scene. 2011 silver was a crime scene here, and sooner or later that's going to come out. You can't erase that here. So we had a lot to come here, and I'm watching the Maxwell trial here, and the stuff pouring out is just, the media is not covering it. And for some reason or another, I've seen a lot of investigators on Bitcoin go back and do a lot of work on Tether, which is another story. But nobody's following this connection. For some reason, no one has seen this and kind of connected the dots. Maybe they have, but it's just, too complex. But because there were so many people involved in the finance world, involved in silver, it didn't surprise me. And now leading forward here, it's the same argument, once again, that Epstein has been giving the whole time about Bitcoin being better than gold. It's the same argument that all the ex-gold people are saying when they're promoting Bitcoin over gold. Well, it's, John, gold's going nowhere, silver's going up. I said, well, you should know the answer to that. Once again, I my conspiracy on Bitcoin, if the central banks are loading up gold today, what was reported that Singapore Chinese gold was up 56% in the fourth quarter of gold buying, third quarter. And that Russia is buying gold at a record pace. And it's probably because of all the NATO missiles that are being put on the border there in Ukraine. So all these guys the central banks are buying gold. And while they're buying gold, they're probably looking, hey, how's Bitcoin doing? Who's buying Bitcoin? Those guys over there. Don't worry about them. It's going to be, one of these days, there's going to be lights out, and it's going to happen. We're going to see lights out sooner or later in the Bitcoin crypto space. And then that's when people are going to realize, oh shit, I should have silver in my hand. That's going to happen. That's pretty much guaranteed that is going to happen.
John, never a dull moment. We will continue down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's
another flashlight to venture further, but it's really, really good. And you bring a lot of fact to the conspiracy, and that's what we like. We're laying a lot of breadcrumbs, and think that again, the warning is there. If you can't see the obvious, then you can't see it. It's, to me, if you got a big profit or even a profit, you just got to use some common sense.
Just risk management,
You've got
diversify.
a profit in these cryptos now with all that John just outlined in this most recent interview, and you don't want to, book some profits. Your fault.
Yeah. And once again, I am not anti-crypto. I was in Litecoin early, and crypto is the future. The blockchain is the future. Who manages it and who controls it? That's the big question here. How this unfolds. And I think like Bitcoin, this is not a slam against Bitcoin itself, the technology. People have their, pros and cons about it. Really, the real connection here is we take Bitcoin and then we take this executive order. And that's the real question. How is this executive order going to affect Bitcoin in the future if something rolls out here that connects them all? Because technically it makes sense. So that's really the question here. I'm not against Bitcoin or crypto at all. If anything, I like the idea. I love the idea. But the origins, that's where the big question mark is.
And that's why we're doing this. Thank you, John.
You're welcome. Have a great evening.